You're going to see a lot of people locking up the front inside and just going wide. If you go too aggressive here, bam, you're gone. Woo! When Lewis and I were racing each other, we were always together. It was very rare that one guy disappeared. Welcome back to F1 Fridays, and this weekend we're going to Portugal, and it's Portimao, a new track which is awesomely exciting. Just like Mugello, it's going to be a huge challenge for the drivers. Before I get starting though, what is this? So Rosberg Xtreme Racing, it's my new Extreme E racing team, which I'm very excited about. And because I love the concept, it combines the most exciting, thrilling racing in the incredible locations around the world with the opportunity really to help preserve the environment. So we're going to do a lot of initiatives, a lot of impactful work together with foundations, for example, Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation, and that's what I'm most thrilled about. And talking about the colors a little bit, so we've tried to make this matte black with shiny black camouflage at the bottom, overlaid with some of the colorful logos and some of our first partners. And maybe you can remember my helmet wasn't exactly those colors when I became world champion, so that's why we've chosen those colors again. And as always as well, this week you have the chance, by getting the top comment on this YouTube video, you have the chance to get a surprise present from me. I'm going to send it to you, and the question that you have to answer this week is, who for you is the best racing driver of all time? Not only Formula One, of all time, the best racing driver ever. And I'm asking this of course because Lewis, Schumacher now are statistically coming very, very close. But not only those two, obviously there's many others. So I look forward to hearing your answers below, and top comment, good luck for that. And now let's hit it. Let's go straight into the hot lap on this new track. Yes! Got it! Woo! That was a lap. Wow, that was a really, really hard effort. I don't know, this track is really, really hard to get to know it and get the hang of it and the rhythm and everything, but got it there. Now it was like 12th lap or something out there. That was a really decent one. And now let's jump into the slow lap analysis to show you every little special trick on this track. All right, here we go. Let's start the lap. Remember, as always, so on the straight, the driver needs to find the place on the straight where there's the least bumps. So you're hitting the ground the least. So you're scrubbing the least speed down the straight, and that also allows you to drop the car even further. The lower you can drop the car, the faster you'll go in the corners, obviously. So that's really a secret, very important on a new track, to find that exact spot on the straight. Okay, wind from the back. This is a massively difficult corner. My goodness, I mean, you have to time the steering input perfectly to get in there. It's so fast. It's like 6th gear, easy, just a small lift, wind from the back, so you can have big oversteer into here. Oh my goodness. And then the exit, so difficult not to run wide and to get the exit right. This is going to kill the tires in the race. This is, I mean, degradation for the tires in this corner is going to be so huge because it's so fast. Okay, then I think stay in 6th gear. Now comes the hairpin, so brake here around 50 meters. Brake, hard braking down to 3rd gear. And the exit, I was messing up a lot of times. So on the exit here, you have to stay very tight on the exit, because this next one, even though it doesn't seem too difficult, it is very difficult because there's a huge bump in the middle of the corner. So if in the real track it really is such a big bump, whoo, this is going to be, I think you're going to see a lot of people spinning on the exit of this. I spun like, I don't know, 10 times today here in the simulator. So late turn in, In the simulator here, it was a little bit of a lift. So you're by now your fourth gear, small lift over this bump because the car gets really light over the bump. And the wind is from the front here though, so that's going to help a little bit. But still, you're going to be super light on the bump whilst you're trying to put the power down. So mainly for the rear, it's just going to make it so nervous on the rear. The rear is going to be massively on the limit. And as we know with these cars, the aerodynamics are so sensitive, so you can get some massive snaps here. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people spinning off here. So small lift and then just as soon as you can, put the power back down, continue accelerating, fourth gear, fifth gear. Okay, let's go down the straight. So now the wind is from the front. Remember again on the straight, search for that line, half a meter there where there's the least bumps. Very few F1 drivers will be paying attention to that kind of detail. And now you're jumping downhill, but the braking is later. So once the car settles again downhill, that's only when you start braking, so it doesn't influence braking too much. Downhill though, of course, less deceleration, so you need to brake a little bit earlier. Nevertheless, you got the wind from the front here. That's going to help you with more downforce, so the things cancel each other out. So you can probably go pretty aggressive down here. Then third gear again down here. Third gear, very, very tight corner, but pretty standard. Important to get the power down very, very early here, of course, to get a good run down the next straight. Here we go. This corner, easy flat. Now comes another hard one. So this part here, wide entry. This first part is absolutely flat, but it's still important to position yourself properly. And you can be braking here whilst you're laterally steering so much, which is always very unusual and very extreme and will cause a lot of front locking. So for this corner, certainly you need to do like 2% rearwards on the brake balance to relieve the front a little bit from the braking load and put more on the rear, and brake very softly here because with all that lateral there's much less potential for longitudinal deceleration. So this is soft braking here. You're going to be downshifting into third gear again here. Stay wide, late turn in, and then of course hug the apex. Never touch the orange curb because that's going to throw you off. It's way too big. And then use as much track as you can on the exit here, and that's it. Very difficult entry there, very, very difficult to get it right. You're going to see a lot of people locking up the front inside and just going wide in that corner there. So it's going to be challenging to get that right. Okay, next part here. Again, easy flat this corner, blind over the hill, you don't know where you're going. Again, a super, super difficult corner. So here you leave the brake balance in that 2% rearwards position. And here again, it's so blind. So you have to maximum on the outside here to really catch a great entry line and make the radius as wide as possible so as to carry as much speed as possible. Fourth gear this corner, not third gear as the others because it's faster. And then of course hug the apex, carry the speed. And now here you'll see there's a drop just as you're in traction. So again, very interesting. You're putting the power down, but the track drops away. When the track drops away, you get lighter. That means the rear is going to unload, less downforce, less grip. And therefore, you're going to have to be very, very careful here on the accelerator. If you go too aggressive here, bam, you're gone. So again, you might see some drivers spinning off to the inside here. So very careful here because the track drops away on the accelerator. So that's the cool thing about this track, these undulations really playing into the driving here. This corner here, easy flat. Again, totally blind. Now it's very hard because here, completely blind. You don't know, so you go by memory. I was using this braking mark here. You can see this one line. I was using that as my reference. So those are the kind of things you need to look out for when going by memory to remember exactly where your braking points are. And of course, braking points change though, you know, so that's just your reference. And then you know, okay, I'm going to brake at that marker on the ground plus 5 meters in qualifying, plus 6, plus 7. But you have that kind of reference. So I was using this black stripe here. And I knew that when I hit that, that's when I had to start braking because you can't see the corner at all. And this is really hard. When you can't see corners like that, it's very hard. So this here is a third gear corner. Third gear, again, hug the apex, of course. You can use all the track on the outside. Another massively difficult corner coming up here. And still your brake balance rearwards because you're still always so laterally loaded with a brake balance. So except for those very, very simple, straightforward hairpins, you're always running brake balance rearwards. Here again, wind from the front though, not on the entry though. On the entry, the wind is coming from the side, but as you're coming round the corner, you turn into the wind. So as you're coming round the corner, more and more grip. And it's difficult to adjust to that. It's not there in the entry, but the more you turn, the more the grip comes. And so you know, particularly on the exit there, you can be more and more aggressive and just hammer the power down because as you're turning into the wind, more grip. Okay, so here late entry again, and here light tap on the brakes, fourth gear, carry the speed in, try to hit that apex, and then use all the track to the outside. You're going to be running on the outside there for a very, very long time, traction limited here. Careful that you don't overdo it so you run off. traction limited, use all the road you can here to get the maximum speed, because this is crucial, because you got a very long run now to the start-finish straight, and this next corner is flat, so the exit here is so important. So upshift cleanly, keep the steering as smooth as possible through this last corner. Any extra additional steering input will just scrub speed, so smooth as possible. One input, one steering angle all the way around to get the maximum speed through here. Let it run out wide a little bit there to let it run freely. Use the maximum curb on the exit there, and that's the end of the lap. I would say this is a damn awesome lap. I love it. Looking forward to the qualifying. And now let's jump into the Q&A session. Question 1 from Ruben. So Portimao has a lot of elevation change up and down. How does that impact the driving? So some of the biggest impact from that is, for example, if you've got this kind of jump whilst you're going into braking. One beautiful example of that is coming out of the Monaco tunnel, braking down into that chicane. So just as you want to slam those brakes, the track drops away and you get like really light. And that's ultra high risk, because of course a lot of the weight then comes off the tires, so there's a lot less potential in that moment of braking. And as you've seen in Monaco, there's so many people who then snatch the rear tires, boom, and then spin off and have a high speed crash. And I'm going to blend in my one quickly where that happened. And so that's really difficult, where you just have to take it so easily, and you have to be so careful in that braking phase where the car is light, and it's very difficult to understand the limit. Question 2 is from Alex. So Portimao has a lot of blind apexes. How do you approach that? So when it comes to blind apexes, you can imagine Monaco street circuit. Most of the apexes are blind. So it's really just about driving from memory. You remember where the apex is going to be, how it's going to come at you. You remember the trajectory that you need to take, the timing of it also, the timing when it's going to get at you. And so it's just getting used to it, practicing, building up towards it. And that's what needs to be done as well in Portimao. Question 3 from Martin. So on a racing track, where's the area where you can gain most time or lose most time? So that's a very easy one. It's in braking. In braking, that's where you can lose most time. And if now I would jump into a Formula 1 car, I think in slow speed corners I would be straight away pretty close to the top guys. High speed corners, okay, a little bit off. But where I would be losing most is in braking, just having that ultimate confidence in that super short time where you're going so big on the limit and decelerating the car from like 320 to 80 in the space of 80 meters. There, to feel where the limit of the car is and to have confidence, that really takes a lot of time. And so I think that's where I would be struggling most today if I would jump in, and I would be like losing maybe 2-3 seconds even in the beginning on those kind of areas, and it would take a long time, I think, to build up to it. Question 4 from Max. How can non-racers comprehend how impressive Hülkenberg's performance was to come 8th in the Nürburgring Grand Prix? I mean, you just imagine, please, that you're a tennis player, you're practicing every single day, and then suddenly for 8 months you don't go to tennis court anymore, and you don't even train anymore. I mean, a little bit, but you just hang out with friends, you have coffee, you go partying, whatever. And then suddenly they call you up and you need to go to a Grand Slam, and you're facing the likes of Federer and Nadal. It's just ultimately hard. I mean, there's nothing more hard than that, to just get thrown into the deep end, right into qualifying. And in fact, we saw it was just impossible for Nico to get up to speed within the 4 laps. But then in the race, slowly but surely, of course, the benefit of the race is that you're going a lot slower as well than in qualifying. So, I mean, you're like 5, 6, 7 seconds off the pace of qualifying, maybe 5, I'm not sure exactly. But that also makes it a bit easier. You got a heavier car, you're not so much on the edge there. So that makes it easier. And then Nico, of course, has a huge natural talent, one of the best. He won all the categories leading up to Formula 1, you know, Formula 3, Formula 2. So then he just finds his way, you know, lap after lap. He could build up to it. Of course, he had a good car as well. I mean, Perez finished 4th. And then fantastic, he really deserved it, and it was so good to see. And at this point, why not? Let me know as well in the comment. Do you think he deserves to be on the F1 grid next year, and which team should take him? Question 5 from Ollie. What's easier, being the race leader and defending from P2, or being in P2 and trying to attack the race leader? Depends, really. We know that overtaking is never really so easy, so probably the easier situation in order to win a race is if you're already ahead and you have to defend. But that's definitely also the more uncomfortable situation, because there's so much at stake and it's yours to lose, because you're actually the guy in front. It should theoretically be a bit difficult to overtake, so it's all yours to lose. So that's the really mentally so hard situation. Whereas if you're behind and you're attacking the guy in front, you have nothing to lose. So mentally, you're just flat out, nothing to lose. And that's why very often as well in racing, you'll not see the guy in front disappear into the distance. Like when Lewis and I were racing each other, we were always together. It was very rare that one guy disappeared, because when you're in front, you can't take the same amount of risks either as the guy behind. So it's much more difficult for you to find the limit of the car when you're in front, because you can't allow yourself to make not even one single mistake. If you make one mistake, you've lost the lead. Whereas the guy in second, he can make mistakes. He can push much closer to that limit all the time, make a mistake, then lose 5/10, and he'll come back again. And so it's much easier for the guy in second to find the limit. And that's why the guy in the front will very rarely pull away, because the guy in second just has that advantage of being allowed to find the limit much easier and being allowed to make mistakes. So that's why Lewis and I, for example, we were most of the time always neck on neck, staying together throughout the most races. I bet you didn't know that, right? Did you know that? No. Did you know that? You didn't know that? Outro. Did you know that? Okay, that's it again. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you an awesome Grand Prix weekend. And remember, as always, top comment. If you manage to get it, I'm going to send you a surprise gift. And you have to answer the question, who is the greatest racing driver of all time? Not only Formula 1, of all time. Let me know. Comment now. Good luck with that. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. A lot of cool action coming. Also with the Xtreme Eat car, because I'm going to be driving it at some point. So subscribe to the channel to not miss out on that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.